Hello, everyone. Very welcome to yet another episode of 12 Reasons Why. And today with me, I have Sucheta Gawade, and she is joining us from Cleveland, right, Sucheta?
Yes, that's correct.
Sucheta is Microsoft MVP, and she's doing a lot of really good work around the Intune space, and we'll have a chat around that. Sucheta, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sucheta. And Tushar, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so glad to be here. So I'm a Microsoft MVP in Azure and security, and I have over 18 years of experience now working in large global enterprise IT environments. Currently, I work in healthcare IT as the manager of an endpoint engineering team. So my focus has been or is on modern management, enterprise mobility, and security.
That is great. Yeah, thank you so much, Sachita. So we are going to talk about a lot of endpoints today and things that basically roams around the endpoint space, right? So what exactly is endpoint management and what is the significance of the endpoint management, especially in enterprises?
Right. Yeah, definitely, because enterprises have a larger user base with a lot of more enterprises than you would and endpoints that you would see in a business setting. So yes, endpoint management is basically the discipline of centrally managing, securing, monitoring all your endpoints within an organization. And basically, by endpoints here, what we mean is the laptops, the desktops, mobile devices, even virtual machines that the end users use. In most cases, they are company provided devices, but in some cases, they could be BYOD, right? The bring your own device scenario. But the significance really is, it lies in balancing the end user productivity and security. And what we have in the mix recently is supporting a hybrid workforce, right? Enabling users to work securely from anywhere on any device. So ensuring endpoints are compliant with corporate policies, that they are patched against vulnerabilities, and basically delivering that good user experience in a hybrid workforce. I think that's the significance of endpoint management.
Okay, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty intense stuff, right? So yeah, so and basically any for any IT manager, and especially you mentioned you work with especially the endpoints a lot. So how it can be made easy, and I know we are going to talk about Intune, right? So what is the capabilities around Intune that we can utilize to make all that you explained? Because that sounds tedious to me. It sounds like I have to hire like 10 different people to do that.
I think the answer to that is Intune really makes it easy, right? You mentioned it's so intense, so that intensity reduces with using tools like Intune because it offers that cloud native endpoint management capabilities. And like I was saying earlier, endpoint or device management means having those controls in place to centrally administer devices. And then you optimize device features for business use, or you even deploy and update software, configure settings, and deploy policies. So Intune offers exactly those capabilities. It is the solution that securely and centrally manages devices and applications. So it's both. And basically, it has like a web-based administration console. You really don't install anything on premises. It offers like scalable cloud delivery. So that's the beauty of Intune, I would say. It is that unified endpoint management solution which centrally manages your devices and apps.
Okay, so now we have another Microsoft product sitting in front of our because we had loads of like we had SCCM some point of
Yes.
time. We had different other tools. So how does that Intune fits into the Microsoft ecosystem, right? Because one thing, and me especially working in security space, and Microsoft had done commendable job again to basically consolidate everything at security.microsoft.com. So, but still, Intune, how
Yeah.
does that sit into the whole Microsoft ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. And you touched upon SCCM, which is a great point because SCCM was more for managing your devices on premises, right? But the shift to the cloud, what you need is that cloud-based solution, which is Intune. And also with Intune, you can do co-management, managing your on-premises devices plus your cloud devices. So that is another capability. But yeah, I mean, Intune can integrate with like Azure, Entra ID, and basically the whole Microsoft ecosystem for that matter, if that's needed. And that's how it enables that cloud-based approach to managing devices, applications, and security. I think you also touched upon that Defender aspect, right? Security.microsoft.com. So it is tightly integrated with Defender for Endpoint for threat intelligence, for remediation. Your endpoints can be more secure if you integrate Intune with Defender. And what I talked about earlier about Entra ID, that's really needed for that identity-driven access. Entra is what is leveraged by Intune for device and identity storage and permissions. And I think you work a lot with identity, right? So you probably know how it all gels together when we have Intune, when we have Entra, and we see in Intune, we see all our users and their devices, which actually are coming off of your Entra ID. So that's that tight integration.
Okay, that sounds really great. Yeah, and I'll definitely say I have came across Intune a lot of times when I'm working with Defender, and it says, yeah, you go and create a lot of policies there, Defender for endpoint
Yes.
policies around Intune. Yeah, so definitely there is a quite of I would say tightly integrated systems. One thing I would like to understand from devices perspective, since you mentioned laptops and the end user devices, right? So is it we are talking about just the physical devices, or because I have been a preacher of don't go for BYOD, go if you're going with BYOD, get Windows 365 or get Azure Virtual Desktop. So can
Yeah.
we manage that as well with Intune?
Yes, absolutely. So Intune really manages your Windows devices very well,
Mhm.
including virtual machines, as well as like Apple devices, Mac OS, iPhones, iPads, which is your iOS devices and iPad OS devices. And advanced support and capabilities for Apple are being introduced as we speak here. But I feel it's at this point, it really delivers a good management approach to Apple devices. Other than that, it is Android devices, even Linux. Linux has a limited capability, but you can still do some remoting into those devices or remote capabilities. So yeah, it fully manages the newest Windows 365 cloud PCs as if they were like physical devices. So like the same compliance policies, security baselines, or even app deployments, those all apply to your Windows 365 cloud devices, just like they would to your physical Windows PCs. So yeah, like for Windows 365 Enterprise and Frontline, you actually start with Intune to even provision those cloud PCs. So
Okay.
it's really good to have that integration as well, where um, your Windows 365 devices are just again centrally managed through that same unified platform, like you
Mhm.
would manage your other devices.
Okay, so one thing you mentioned, so I have two follow-up questions on that. So
Sure.
one is around the other devices. So I know Microsoft does a really great job with all the Windows products and all the native Microsoft products, right? But how was your experience managing, let's say, macOS devices with Intune? Did you face any challenges around that?
Yeah, because like I also mentioned, the capabilities for catering to Apple devices are still being built. They are good enough at this point, but I feel that there's more that can be done, which is in the works, I'm pretty sure. So initially, when I started managing Apple devices through Intune, obviously there were some limitations with capabilities, but we kind of worked through those. I think it really has very good capabilities for iPhones. With iPhones, you can
Mhm.
really have like the single device, corporate owned experience in a very seamless manner. And then Mac OS devices, I think of late there have been a lot of advancements around that. like the platform specific advancements, which I really like. And I feel with that, it's making that Intune platform really very unique, or being able to cater to more capabilities as far as Apple devices go. So yeah, I mean, of late, I think it's just getting better with Apple device management. As long as you have your Apple Business Manager on the side, and then you have your DEP policies, or like the device enrollment profiles, you can start managing your Apple devices through Intune.
That sounds really interesting. And the fact that it is able to manage the Apple devices up to the same level as Windows, that is really good. And definitely, I can imagine there will be challenges because Apple has its own ecosystem, and
Yes.
I can't even use a Mac, to be very honest. I am
Yeah, Apple makes it a little difficult with how it can integrate well with things that Intune offers. So I know there have been hindrances, but I think Microsoft is working through that. So hopefully sooner we'll have a much more smoother experience with Apple devices.
That sounds great. So the second follow-up question, you mentioned about bring your own devices scenarios, right? So basically, we are saying, and I would not like if my companies ask me to get my own device, because I have a lot of crap that I would say on my device that I don't want to take to my office. But still, let's say it's a bit bring your own device, like how Intune is facilitating like data security and making sure there's a boundary between the personal and corporate use.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it's really important in today's times, right, where we have this hybrid work culture. So Intune does foster that hybrid work culture by helping to manage bring your own device scenarios, most importantly, without compromising security. And it offers employees flexibility while being able to safeguard the data, the corporate data. And mainly how it does it is, so Intune has two management solutions. One is mobile device management, MDM, and the other one is mobile application management, MAM. So mobile device management, that is the management and security of corporate owned devices. So like the devices that are owned by the company and given to end users, where like me as an Intune admin, I would have full control on that device, right? I can do, security baselines. I can push out whatever policies I want. I can erase the device if needed. But then for BYOD scenarios where it is user's personal device, you wouldn't have that much control, and you wouldn't want to have that control, right? So that's where mobile application management comes into picture. It is more focused on BYOD scenarios. And that application management, the MAM, it refers to the management and security of work applications on users' personal devices. And by work applications, here I mean your M365 apps, which is a very good example.
Mhm.
Like all the users who use personal devices for work, they typically have Outlook or Teams or SharePoint, those applications on their personal devices. So MAM helps manage those. And by drawing that line, like you mentioned, it does have that it does draw that line for separating out your personal apps and data and the corporate apps and data. And that basically is the beauty of managing BYOD securely.
Mhm.
So like with MAM, we have app protection policies, which are primarily leveraged for ensuring security of apps and data. They protect data at the application level without requiring full control of the device. So like examples would be, you want to ensure that data is not copied and pasted in between work app and a personal app like Facebook. So you can actually push out such a policy so that that doesn't happen. And then if that user's device gets lost or stolen, you as an admin can still push out a policy or push out a control to erase only the company specific data without even touching users' personal applications. So I think that's really helpful. So MAM with app protection policy, that's the gist for managing your BYOD devices securely and drawing that line between corporate and personal.
That sounds really amazing. Like because in past I have seen a lot of resistance from especially employees that no, I'm not going to use my personal device because you might put something on this like for web
Yeah.
filtering, and I browse illegal websites and things like that. I don't want you to search all those. And also like I have seen, even I'm guilty for that as well. I have done copy pasting of my corporate data sometime from my teams to my WhatsApp or things like that. So basically
Yeah.
you can block all that with the MEM stuff here.
Yeah, with the MAM. And also, like to extend your point, users sometimes also feel that if they have something on their, if they have a corporate app on their personal device, and if an admin has control over that app, the admin may be able to see other things on that user's personal device, like other applications, which the user is not comfortable with.
Yeah,
But here, yeah, here with MAM and app protection policies, it's very straightforward. The admins can never see users' personal data. It only manages those corporate applications, the M365 apps, which again is a great example.
lovely. Yeah, no, that gives me a lot of peace of mind as well. So my organization can't see my dating apps at least.
Yes, they cannot. Feel free.
Okay, so how do we manage apps? So we have a device, basically. We have a device which is Intune enrolled. We have like Intune managed device, right? So what all capabilities we get in terms of managing apps? Because one, that is one aspect we get around, like we get a lot of people doing lots of different things on their laptop, and some, especially developers, I see they are bringing in different things, and they ask for different apps as well from IT. So how does that get streamlined with Intune?
Sure. So, going back to SCCM for a minute, like how you would manage application deployment through SCCM, Intune offers similar capabilities. So, like Intune manages the full application lifecycle, basically right from installation of the application to configuring it, updating applications so that they are not vulnerable, and also removal or uninstallation of those applications. And mainly, the different varieties of applications that are supported are like your M365 apps, store apps, line of business apps, web apps, Win32 apps for that matter, which can be packaged and then deployed through Intune. And mainly, like that's about that full application lifecycle. But then you also want to manage the apps once they are down on the user's devices, right? So for that, we have app configuration profiles, or we have app protection policies that I talked about earlier. And again, app protection policies are there for securing data at the application level. But then app configuration profiles, they are really great in that, they can give a pre-configured app experience. So like if a user needs Outlook on their device, you install Outlook from Intune, but then you also pre-configure it for them so that it is ready to use for them on the first launch. They don't have to really go and do any configurations. So that makes it easy for the user, right? That gives a great user experience. So that's how you would actually manage, configure, and then the entire life cycle is taken care of for that application. And mainly, the other thing that I'm missing is the managed apps. So like managed apps, again, Outlook or Teams, specifically on like phones, where these are Microsoft or partner applications which are chosen, like the organization will cherry pick certain applications to secure them with protection or to configure them with policies. And mainly the app protection policies get applied to these managed applications. So that way you can, more like ensure security for those applications as well.
That sounds great, and even it sounds, I won't say simple, I won't, but it sounds pretty, I would say, manageable from the administrator perspective as well, right? Everything gets streamlined, and you have like a full life cycle management at one place.
Yeah.
Lovely. Now, so how about if we talk about zero trust, right? So how is Intune supporting the zero trust scenarios, right? And is there And any specific role from Intune side and Zero Trust?
Yes, there is. And I'm glad you bring that question up because these days, zero trust is really important, right? As more and more organizations are moving towards a zero trust environment, aligning your organization's resources with those zero trust principles is crucial. So, like, those three principles, I know everyone probably knows about it by now, but verify explicitly, use least privilege access, and assume breach. So, Intune actually helps you configure and deploy around these principles. And it helps you configure many of the necessary controls to support these principles, in turn ensuring zero trust, right, or aligning with that zero trust framework. So, like, ideally you would implement zero trust across your infrastructure, right? Identities, you probably have done that. Identities, devices, applications, data, network. And with Intune you actually can establish zero trust for your devices or endpoints. And there are many different capabilities within Intune that you can leverage to do that. So, like, starting with enrolling devices, you enroll devices means you bring them into management. So that's the first step towards trying to secure your devices. So you start with that registration or enrollment. And then you implement your device configuration policies, including, say, settings like password capabilities, or even your auto updates, your patching for stuff, even endpoint security settings, security baselines that I touched upon earlier, other things like device encryption or even privilege management. App protection policies is another one of those aspects that come into play here from a zero trust standpoint. There's device compliance policies and conditional access, which is more like an Entra feature, but you can deploy conditional access through Intune. So I feel, when we talk about zero trust, it's more about that combination of compliance policies, conditional access, and integrating with like your Defender for Endpoint. And that whole ecosystem gives you those zero trust capabilities. So yeah, I feel there are several controls that can be leveraged just for your device implementation for zero trust. I really like that about Intune because basically with Defender, you can extend those capabilities for security and zero trust.
That sounds really great. And especially from security practitioners, I would say Intune will definitely play a big role when they are using the whole Microsoft ecosystem to implement the Zero Trust.
Yes.
Uh, that sounds really. Anything else from security side? Like being a security guy, I'm more interested. So anything else from security side that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I feel, I think you hinted at earlier, when you work in Defender, it gives you recommendations for implementing certain things on your devices, and those can be seamlessly transferred into Intune, and then an Intune admin will know what to do, or the security tasks blade in Intune actually does that. So the Intune admin knows what to look at for vulnerabilities and then go address them. So that's a very good capability as well, which again is part of that integration of Intune and Defender. But other than that, there are native security controls like BitLocker, or BitLocker for Windows, or FileVault for macOS devices, that encryption that you can do for data, as well as firewall policy enforcement. You can do that. Privilege management, I think I talked about already. But then the Windows Hello for Business, you can manage those credentials through Intune. You can manage local admin passwords through Intune. So yeah, I can keep talking about it. I guess there's just so much, just from an endpoint security standpoint that Intune offers, and new capabilities keep getting added as well. So I think it really blends. The whole thing really blends well into providing that robust security for your organization and ensuring that you have that, harden your security posture basically. So
Perfect. No, definitely. So it's kind of I would say blend of Windows native security managed through Intune, and then almost giving it a booster shot with I would
Yes,
say, the Defender XDR portal. That
yes,
basically makes it more, I would say, usable for organizations. So
exactly.
yeah, and that is that is really good. That basically sounds really good from security standpoint. I won't say I'm a very good device management person, but from security standpoint, definitely that's music to my ears. Uh, okay, so from previous experience, right, walking up my service desk, I have heard a lot of times the guys talking about Autopilot. I thought they're buying a Tesla, but there is Autopilot. I believe there is something called AutoPatch as well. What are these? Like, is there something extension of Intune or?
So, and that's a timely question since we were talking about security, right? And Autopilot definitely is not your Tesla Autopilot, but yeah, I know that comes in so much, timely. So these capabilities like the Autopilot, the Autopatch, they align with Intune's security implementation capabilities. Because like Autopilot, it ensures that your devices are securely provisioned for end users, and mainly with like a zero touch approach, where in the past, me as an IT admin or a technician, I would actually image a device and then ship it off to the end user. But now I don't have to do that with Autopilot. It's ready for use for the user with minimal user input. And it's, like I mentioned, it's zero touch device provisioning. So
Hmm,
like you ship a new device to a user, and when the user fires it up, it auto configures into your corporate ready state on that first boot. Again, it's based on your user's corporate credentials, but as long as that is done right, the device is just ready for the user, without having the user to do anything specific or without having them to go through configuration steps. So it gives a very good experience to your end user, as against what we would do in the past. Also for admins, for me, I think it's easier now because you can just set up policies and those autopilot profiles, and your devices just do that work themselves. So there's not much that an admin has to do,
yeah,
other than ensuring that your policies are set right.
I will. I'm very interested there. So how does this thing work? So like, you ship a device, and I just get the device. I log in with my corporate credentials, and boom, it's all configured.
Yes, because on the back end in Intune, now first of all, you work with your OEMs, say you have Dell devices or HP devices. You work with those vendors so that you have those hardware hashes saved to your Intune profiles. And by that, or with that, Intune knows which devices are to be provisioned because of those hardware hashes. So as soon as you set up those profiles and the groups and everything properly in Intune, and the end user logs in with their corporate credentials with that domain account, it knows which policies to deploy out to those devices, because of the configurations that you have set in Intune. So that's how it works in the backend, very seamlessly, um, as long as you ensure that you have set things up correctly. So there's really not much that you need to do at the time of actually provisioning the device, because it happens in an automated fashion.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing, and that will reduce a lot of operational overhead, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, One thing that we cannot go without talking is the AI bits. Just so we get a
Yes.
lot of people viewing this, just so there is AI content in this. So, do we have our favorite co-pilot in Intune now?
Yes, yes. Yet another Copilot in the Microsoft world. So Copilot in Intune, it's actually a subset of Security Copilot, and it went GA just a couple months ago.
Mhm.
So I know people probably have a fresh new experience with it, those who have not seen it previously. But it is an Intune embedded AI powered tool that provides insights to admins, tailored for their organizational needs. So it is an offering primarily for Intune admins, not for the end users,
Okay.
because it's a part of your Intune portal. And mainly it helps, right? Like just any other copilot, it helps those admins with, say, summary of a device. It will quickly get you device configurations, or it will compare two devices. If you're troubleshooting something, you want to see, both devices have the same configs, is what you think, but then one of them is not working. So you want to compare the configs that are deployed to those two devices so that you know what is missing. So you can do that. It can also guide you with like creating policies, before you deploy out. So it can give you best practices basically. And I like that about it. And all of this, you don't have to really go out of your Intune portal to look at Microsoft Learn documentation,
Hmm.
because now it's all, your Copilot is helping you with all those answers within the Intune portal. So that's another thing where you don't have to click around so much, and it gives you good insights, recommendations. It helps with troubleshooting. It has an error analyzer, which helps resolve issues faster, because now you can analyze errors better. So there's a lot of things that it offers. And again, I think just like any other Copilot, it is being developed further, and we would soon hear more enhancements around it. So yeah, I mean, I love using Copilot in Intune.
And can we build any agents?
We definitely can, just like
Okay.
anything else, right? So with agents, I think so. There is a vulnerability remediation agent, which I think was kind of announced last year or sometime last year, or maybe this year, early this year. It is still in public preview, if I'm not wrong, but it is something that kind of also leverages Defender. So it uses data from Defender vulnerability management to identify CVEs,
Mhm.
our common vulnerabilities and exposures, basically on your Intune managed devices. And then the results are prioritized for remediation. Um, step-by-step instructions are included to guide admins in using Intune to remediate those threats. So I feel, as far as agents go, like agents actually do the work, right? Copilot answers your questions, but agents actually do the work for you.
Yeah.
So just like any other agent, I think the vulnerability remediation agent is helpful as far as Intune goes. Um, and obviously, I've been hearing a lot of vendors who are coming up with their own new agents to plug into Security Copilot. So that will be good to explore going forward, I think.
Perfect. Now, so with what I'm hearing, so I don't have to buy a new Copilot license to get it on Intune. If I have the SCUs, the new concept that came in the security compute unit, if I have that deployed, I will get the Intune Copilot as well.
Yes. So as long as you have Security Copilot enabled and you have those SCUs, then you're good, because Intune, Copilot in Intune is a subset of that. So you automatically get those Intune capabilities as well.
Perfect. So that's my final question for this one is
Mhm.
if an organization is starting with Intune, like what will be your advice to them and where should they start? And if from resources perspective, because not always they get great consultants like you to help them out with the journey. So if there is any resources that they can follow specifically.
Yeah, good question. I feel there is a trial available that organizations should leverage, at least to start with, like a POC, or when they want to start exploring Intune. That's a good starting point. So I feel the E5 license, or your M365 Business Premium, they do offer Intune as one of the capabilities. So as long as you have a trial license for that, you should be good, for like the overall ecosystem around Intune, because Intune just by itself, even without Entra, is not of much use, right? Because you need that database for your devices and users. So I feel spinning up a trial license is the best way to start, and then you can go from there. And as far as skilling goes, Microsoft Learn, always the great platform, right, for documentation and learning and skilling. So there are Learn modules for Endpoint Manager that people can go read. And mainly there is a learning path for like the MD 102 certification exam, which is the Endpoint Administrator Associate. It actually covers in-depth topics on Intune specific learning. So I would recommend following that MD 102 exam learning path because it will give you a lot of information around how you should be starting with your Intune deployments and how you should be making the most of your Intune investments. And of course, like, engaging with the community, that helps, right? Our lovely Microsoft Tech community, MVPs, their blogs, GitHub, and that's another source. So I think, yeah, that's what I would say as far as resources go. But my main advice here really is that there is no learning like having hands-on experience. So you do want to set up that lab for yourself or even go for a trial and experiment because that will take you to another level with skilling up. So yeah, that's what I would say. Go and learn and skill up and explore Intune. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and make sure you don't try things in your corporate setting,
In your
otherwise you
prod.
may. Yeah, prod is not
Exactly.
the best place to test things.
Never.
Yeah.
Never is.
No, thank you very much, Suchita. I would say this was a really, really interesting session, and I hope the people watching this will have a really good insights from this, and they will start using Intune at least. It will make my life a bit easier as well from security standpoint. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. And I definitely had a great time. I'm so glad with the questions and the discussions that we had. I'm more than happy to share my insights. So yeah, thank you.